Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to give it a few minutes for those that are going to join us today so we can get started. If you're joining, please go ahead and drop down in the comments where you're joining us from. Alrighty, I guess let's get started and see how it goes. Hello, my name is Carla. I'm a career advisor here at Avocademy. Thank you all for joining us today. And I'm going to start off by asking the first question, which is to tell me a little bit more about yourself, about what you were doing before joining Avocademy and where you're working at right now. And Marin, if you want to start off, you can.
And so I am, I was, wow. Currently, I'm a product designer with Updox. Before that, I was a teacher. So I taught high school, and I had recently become a mom. So, right after I joined Avocademy, I had my son. And so I've been juggling mom, teacher, and product designer life for a bit. So I'm happy we've downsized to just product designer.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexis Harris. I am currently a user experience researcher at React Digital. React Digital specializes in making digital products for their clients. We work with some pretty big deal clients. And before I had started my user experience journey, I was working as an ESL teacher for about 3 years. So it was a very interesting transition, and then doing like some freelancing, some design work on the side as well.
That's awesome. I was actually, fun fact, I was in ESL growing up because I
Yeah,
moved here from Venezuela. So my
right.
first fifth grade and I think sixth grade, I was in ESL and I live in Miami. So in Miami, everybody speaks Spanish. So that class was literally Spanish. It wasn't even English. We're trying to learn English. So
Yeah.
that's funny. Um, But thank y'all for sharing. The next question that I have here is to talk about timelines. I'll explain a little bit about what Foundations and Career Jumpstart is for those that don't really know the difference between the two or what they entail. But essentially, the question is like, when did you start Foundations? If you can estimate by when you finished, and then how long did it take you to land a job? This doesn't have to be exact, but you can kind of like plan it out in your head. Um, so to give a little explanation on both what Foundations and Career Jumpstart is, Foundations is our educational course where you learn UX research, UX design, UI design. You receive unlimited mentorship, is 16 weeks long now, and you complete the Foundations course with a project and a portfolio website with some resume help added into it. When you complete Foundations, you get certified and you get a badge, and then you can apply to Career Jumpstart or CJ, as most people call it. And then once you are in Career Jumpstart, you'll spend 2 weeks elevating design skills, then 12 weeks working on real client projects where you'll end up with at least 3 to 4 projects in your portfolio. And then we navigate you through the job search where in the job search, it takes about 2 to 6 months to get a job. So in total, you take about 10 to 12 months to secure a job or so. But yeah, if y'all want to answer the question, if you remember, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So for me, I started in August of 2022. So we went from, and for teachers, I know like summer breaks are pretty good times to get started on something. And I also have maternity leave as well. So I think I was able to commit a lot of time in foundations to getting through as many modules as possible. So it took me, still with that being said, it took me until about October or so. And then I took a little break because it was just a lot to learn. There was a lot of information. So I took about 2 to 3 weeks of a break. I started CJ about a week before Christmas. And so, like, there were a lot of like Christmas trees and Zoom calls. And it was very fun working over the holidays with CJ. I finished CJ right before March. And then I think I was extremely fortunate with the job search process. It only took me about 2.5 months. And so I got, which is not normal at all. But with that being said, there were still a lot of applications, a lot of interviews. So it might have been a short time period, but it was not a short amount of work, right? To find a job. And anyone who is trying to find a job through job search right now, my heart goes out to you. It is a very grueling process, but I don't think I would have even been in the resume pile at all without foundations and without CJ, right? Like I could not have made it here without CJ and without foundations, right? It's sort of like a pair product duo. So did it take longer than I was hoping? Yes. Like I wish it took me like 2 weeks to get a portfolio and a job and everything was perfect. Everything took me from August to the following May, right? And so eventually I came back and I started teaching at the same time, and I was a mom at the same time, and I had the job search on top of that. I did some interviews during my lunch break, like during prep classes. Like it was you made the time. And eventually it happened, right? So anyway, that's my whole, I guess, like the timeline of it, right? So that's my timeline. Alexis, it's all on you now.
Yay. Okay. Similar to Marin's situation, I had picked up another full-time job. I took a hiatus from ESL teaching. It was getting to be a little grueling. I was looking into transitioning into UX design, found Avocademy. I joined their foundations program in October of 2021. Yes, of October of 2021, I joined their foundations program. And then from October, November, December, and January, so I want to say about 4 months or 3 to 4 months, I was able to complete the entirety of the foundations course. And then I did not wait. I just went right for it and I did Career Jumpstart. I really did not like, what did you say?
Just what a sprint.
Yeah,
What a
I just like full throttle, just running to Career. I really wanted a job. I was very, very desperate. And I think around like mid or early January, I started Career Jumpstart, got about 3 case studies in, my foundations case study, my 2 case studies with Career Jumpstart. Had a mentor actually outside of Avocademy kind of look over everything again and had to go back in and like redo some things to polish it up a bit. And then I finally started to apply for jobs around the middle of February. And it took me to I think the beginning or the end of March, maybe like early April to find a job. So that's like a month and a half, right? Yeah. So that was, I was very driven, right? So I was like applying to, I remember at the time they were saying, make sure you get to like 100 jobs or your first 80, 60 jobs, right? And I was like, screw it, I'm going to apply to 500 jobs. And so I think I applied to like 500 jobs in a little under 2 weeks. I was just like a machine, just like submitting my portfolio.
go.
Yeah, and so it was pretty interesting. I will say that to piggyback off of what Marin said, it does help if you do the Career Jumpstart alongside the foundations program. There's just a
Mhm.
bunch of opportunities there that you would not get if you were just applying for jobs by yourself. More importantly, that like real world client working experience and being able to apply that design thinking process for different clients and seeing like what they need and what steps you need to omit, that really helps, and that like trains your brain in the Career Jumpstart program. So yeah, definitely, if you can get into it, I would 100% do it. You will definitely find yourself a job in a very short amount of time than if you were just job hunting on your own. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like a very type A person. I love my like lists and calendars. And I also had a little bit of an art background. I taught art. And so I thought I could do it all by myself, you know, without any help. And I did that for a whole year, and I thought like I've taken a graphic design class. I've done some logos. I can do this. And no, no, no. Especially everything that CJ gives you, giving those real client projects, giving I literally had probably dozens of mock interviews, having a poor mentor go over multiple times a week. I had people looking over designs. There are just some things you can't do by yourself, you know? And this was something that I really thought initially I could do alone. That no, I think nowadays with this job market, you need help.
definitely with this job market, and it's just good to have that support system because Maka and
Yeah.
uh, their team, they very much so have all the resources there. They have the connections. You're connecting with other fellow of Avocademy alumni who are looking to recruit people, looking to put in those references, are always posting out on the job boards. And even after you find a job and after you're like separated from Career Jumpstart, you always will have access to that Slack channel, and you'll always have access to those opportunities that they are presenting to you. So yeah, it's definitely, I think what separates Avocademy from most UX boot camps is not only are they teaching you the thorough design thinking process, but they are giving you an opportunity to work with real world clients and to build a strong and solid portfolio, all while helping you get a job, like actually helping you get a job in the process. So
I love it. Usually I add my little opinions in there, but that was so well said. I'm like, okay. Alrighty. So I have another question for y'all, which is, what was your biggest challenge when learning UX and UI design? Like, what was that one thing that had you like questioning, like, is this for me kind of thing?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I didn't know how rigid and organized everything is. You know, I again being an art teacher, I loved making things look pretty, and I didn't understand that there was research and guidelines, right? Like building on a grid or knowing pixel measurements or decimals. And when you get to the nitty gritty, making sure everything is as pixel perfect as possible, regardless if it's like pretty or not. And then um, being able to present a design and say, you know, more than this looks cute, which was, you know, poor pre-foundations designer Marin was at. And definitely the research for me as well, being able to interview people with confidence and record notes about those interviews in an articulate way. That took me a while to understand. So I would say the engineering, like developing side, where everything has to be like measured perfectly, grid, style guide, like it's a lot more rigid than it looks. And
Yeah.
yeah, it just looks so pretty and effortless on a screen. And then I would say the research. And so having the people ability to talk to someone about your designs.
right, yeah. So I would say some of the things that were really difficult for me in my UX design journey. The first thing is getting started. Even like before Avocademy, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. I remember I was like drafting a user flow in the corner of my sketchbook and showing it to an ADP list mentor. They were just like, "Oh, that's cute." Like it was just awful. But then like going through the user experience foundation courses of Avocademy, I will have to follow up with Marin and say like the rigidity of everything and specifically UI for me and making sure all the pixels line up, everything's 8 pixels apart, especially when you get into like the high fidelity designs. Yeah, and just making sure you have good design knowledge and good design principles and like does this button pass contrast and like account for everything on the on your product and your experience of the product. Like what does this button take you to if a user clicks on it? Can you wireframe that out? Can you put that into a prototype? I'd say that's the really hard part is the UI for me.
I think that's funny because like no, it's okay. So I've been building my portfolio for quite some time now, just because like I like to do it. I love UX, I love UI. I think it's so cool and fun. And what I definitely enjoy the most is the actual like user flow, like the wireframes, the mid-fi wireframes, like the analyzing, like diving into people's brains and being like, what are they gonna do next if they click on this? Like, and then like prototyping it and being like, okay, it actually makes sense, or no, let me go back to the drawing board and kind of making it better. Like, it's so interesting to me. It's like you're a psychologist, but not really. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Definitely. Yeah, I would have to say what I really appreciate about user experience design is I also come from an art background and I have worked with clients before. And it's so hard to convince a client that, like, hey, this design does not make sense. It does not look good. And they're like, no, this is what we want. You give them what they want, and then they don't like it. And then it's like, okay, well, this is what you wanted, right? At least with user experience design, you have the ability to do testing and research and have all this evidence. So then when you present it to a client or a stakeholder, you can very much so say like, okay, this design decision doesn't make sense based off of the evidence that I have allocated from this research. And I really, really like that part of user experience design. It's like rationalizing my design choices or the best design choice for the stakeholder.
Yeah. It's cool. How are y'all liking like your roles right now?
I love it. I love it. And there's so many things that like there is the role and then there is like the day-to-day life experiences that changed as well. So it's very like teaching is very in the trenches, so like you get 5-minute lunch breaks and then kids are filing into your room and parents are emailing you and Jimmy's eating glue in a corner and it's just always it's so all the time. And I will never forget day two. I was under this mentality that I understood I was going to work 8 hours a day, right? So I'm coming in and I needed to like take off like an hour before the shift ended. So I clocked in an hour early. I was like, 8 hours, I'm just going to clock in an hour early. I'll do my 8 hours and then I'll go home. And there was this lifestyle switch and my boss like messages me, he's like, you're here an hour early, what is going on? I was like, hey, I need to take off an hour at the end of my day, so I'm just putting it in now. And he was like, don't worry about it, like we're not gonna micromanage you, like if you need to go then you could go, if we trust you. There was just this like a switch where all of a sudden I was sort of in a profession and on a team where the timeline was a little relaxed and the team was a little more relaxed. And there was time to like breathe and have a lunch break that was more than 5 minutes. And like if I needed to go out and, buy something at Costco and then come back, I could do that. And so there's just this huge day-to-day life-to-life change, right? And that is going to be a little bit just tech in general. And then also the time that I am at the computer, the job flies. Like there's some times where I look down and all of a sudden the shift is over, and I can say that I really enjoyed that day. I love what I'm doing. And I'm a little bit nerdy for product. Updox, we do we're like medical tech. And so I help with like patient portals for doctors' offices and when they need to communicate with like pharmacists and stuff. And so it's like really nerdy, especially like coming from an art teacher. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna love this, you know. And like it didn't matter because there's this moment where like I realized I just loved designing. I loved being a UX designer, and it really didn't matter that I wasn't like as invested in the product as I thought I would be coming into it. So anyway, yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so can I talk about my job journey? Because it was not linear at all. I would say that my current job right now is great. I love it. And what I mostly look for in, a job offer or a job position is some form of mentorship, some form of leadership and guidance, and having an exact understanding of like what I'm supposed to do and how it's supposed to be done. And I would say at my job right now, they check all of those boxes. They have done more than enough to, help me feel supported, onboard me during a very difficult time when they had an incredibly tight deadline, like a 6-month turnaround. And they've also very much so helped me like understand like different elements of UX and how to kind of better my skills. So I do have a lot of appreciation for my job. And then on top of that, we're just working with really cool clients all the time. And because it's like client based, we're not always working on the same accounts. Sometimes we're working on like one account here, and then we're working for, a broadcasting company, and then we're working for a food company, and it's just so interesting. And it, since it is client based, sometimes there's an issue where, especially if you're from an advertisement agency background, there could be like super late nights and they don't respect your boundaries and there isn't a solid work life balance. I'm a strong advocate for that. And so far, even when they had the tightest of deadlines, I have never felt like my work life balance has been compromised. I've always felt like I've had enough work. I'm working at a moderate pace and I'm learning at a pace that I should. So right now, I really do like the job that I'm in, but it did take a little bit of time to get there, to get to a job where I just felt like it was the right fit,
Yeah, no, I love that. And I feel like everything that you so I saw this TikTok not too long ago, where this girl was talking about how like no job is perfect, right? Like there's always gonna be it's good and it's bad, like it's a balance, right? And it's how you view your role, how you like what you do, and like the environment as well. So everybody's journey, and I tell this to every single person that I talk to, everybody's journey is not linear. It's not the same. Like it goes ups and downs. So and ups and downs. So one job you might really like, and then the next one you might not like it so much, and then you switch and you go to another one and you love it. So it's just different for everybody. And I'm happy that now, Alexis, you're in a role that you really enjoy and you like the people and everything. I really do love that for you. But don't be too hard on yourself. It happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I have a couple questions from people dropping it in the comments. So I'm gonna showcase it down here so y'all can see it as well. Oh, well, not this one. So there was like a problem with the there was a problem with the system. People couldn't join. So I've been like going in and sending the link. But here you can see one question that is, did any of you guys start Avocademy with no UX UI experience? I know you mentioned it before, but if you don't mind sharing it again, just for those that didn't get to hear it.
So I was an art teacher, I guess, right? So like I guess visually I had a graphic design class under my belt like 10 years ago. under my belt, right? So it had been a while. So I could paint and draw and make things visually pretty. I did have a sister-in-law in tech in another company. She mentioned UX, and I tried. I downloaded Figma on my computer, and it was awful. I hated it, and I didn't know why people would ever use it. And I tried my little heart out for a year, and I made nothing. I tried doing like daily like tasks or challenge. There's a daily UI challenge out there somewhere that's a little dated. And I tried all by myself, and it did not go well. I think by the time I got to Avocademy, I thought I had experience. Looking back now with what I know now compared to what I knew in August, I knew nothing. I had no experience. I had nothing. So yeah, I'm gonna say very little to none for me.
Yeah, okay. So I have a similar situation to Marin. I'm not an art teacher. I did go to art school and I do have this art background. And I will say that one thing they did teach me in art school is how to talk about your work. And I feel like that helped me out a lot when talking about my designs in my portfolio or selling myself as a designer. And I also had like I want to say like over 10 years of like digital program or digital design experience. So like Adobe Creative Suite, Photoshop, After Effects, all of Illustrator, all of the, like I already had experience in that. So then jumping to Figma, once I really started like digging and kind of configuring how to do things, it was a lot easier for me. But I will say like the UI part of UX design is only like half of like
Oh
the
my gosh.
entirety of UX. So the whole entire beginning part where you're doing primary research and secondary research and affinity mapping and user flows and even like conducting workshops or usability testing and how to find a solid finding. That, I didn't learn that on my own. I have no experience in that at all. And I've also seen and I've known people from Avocademy who have no design experience whatsoever be able to pick up Figma, learn it like that, be able to record all of their research, all of their usability testings, make solid case studies, and get amazing jobs. So while I do have that art background and I do have like that knowledge of like how to use these programs, it's only honestly, it's like a quarter of UX design. There's so much that goes into it that you have to learn.
That was so well freaking said. Like a dash there between UX and UI, right? UX or the research part of it, nothing. Absolutely. I think I had negative experience because I'd never done any type of research. Like the last research I did was a science fair project in 6th grade. Like I did research and I did not know that UX usually follows research. And so
Mhm.
and it felt at first it felt very much like a science project,
Yeah.
right? Where I was like, I didn't sign up for this, and I cried many nights. So
Mhm.
yeah, anyway, there is hope. There is hope in this story that like even if you're starting from ground zero, Avocademy is going to take care of you. Like it's okay. Foundations take care of that for you. And now I
Mhm.
feel a lot more. I have a lot more tools in my belt than like say other designers on my team who did everything from scratch.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I have a lot more confidence now in a lot of different areas because of what they taught me. Avocademy is like it is brutal because instead of teaching you, for example, um, every company or every product you go to is going to utilize, let's say, A, B, C, right? So you have company and they do A, B, C things. And then you have another company and they do D, E, F. Avocademy teaches you A through Z. And so, will you use everything? Probably not. Will you know everything? Probably a little bit of everything. Yeah. Like, you feel a lot more so going into my job, even though they were like, oh, actually, we only do ABC, I was like, oh, I know those. That's awesome. And I felt ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I even piggyback off of that to talk about my current job experience. They had hired a contractor onto their company who talked really like a big game. He worked with big clients like Ulta and Facebook and Microsoft. Like he was working with some big deal clients as a contractor. And come to find out, when they hired him, like he didn't even know like the basic functionality of Figma, right? And then like and so it was so unusual because right when I came, they kind of let him go. They were like, "You're not doing any work. Like, what's going on?" Right? And I remember talking to my mentor from work like last week, and he was like, "You're not like the things that coming in, like you've surpassed the bare minimum of what we're expecting from you." And honestly,
Oh,
I owe that all to Avocademy because they taught me thoroughly like the design process and how it works and how to apply it into like real world situations. And I don't think a lot of other boot camps are really doing that, like really understanding like the core essence of like how important it is to know every single step and how to execute every single step.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like there are some designers out here that are just kind of like that dude where they say that they've worked with big deal clients, but they're still working in InDesign and they don't have that experience and they don't know how to do a usability test and put together a deck with findings. So all of that you will learn in Avocademy. Maybe not the deck part, but like learning how to conduct the usability testing and learning how to facilitate interviews and from your findings create some sort of redesign and affinity mapping, all of that.
All that fun
yeah,
stuff.
no, all that fun stuff, which is really fun, honestly. And I always compare like foundations to kind of being like medical school because everybody's like, oh, can I just like learn UX research because I want to be a UX researcher? And I'm like, when you want to be a doctor and you want to be a neurosurgeon, you just don't skip all the schooling and dive straight into neurosurgery. Like there's steps, right? So medical school, you learn the generalized medicine, and then you have your next steps, which you can specialize in surgery and then neurology and blah, 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 blah. That's kind of what it's like in a way. Obviously, not as complex as medical school, but it's you get the generalized education of UX research, UX design, UI design, like the end-to-end process from like stating a problem, like what does the problem mean? What is it to define a problem until you test it. Once you created all of your designs, you test if it works. If it doesn't, go back to the drawing board and like figure out how you can fix it. So for me, it was a very fascinating experience how something like an app can be designed and so developed from just one problem, from just one question at the beginning, how your brain takes you in a way where it's like you get to design a full-on app and it's so cool. Um, but we have a lot of questions, so let's start going through them. Sorry, I talk a lot, but okay, so we have Bethany. They mentioned how long did it take for any of you to complete the course? We did mention this prior, but if you just want to like estimate super fast, that'd be nice.
August 22 to getting a job, May 23. Course was August 22 to about October 22.
Yeah. And then for me, it was August 21 to getting a job in February, March of 2022. And then from the actual course, it was, did I say August? I meant to say October. Did I say October 2021?
I think you said August. I'm not sure.
No, okay, sorry guys. I meant October 2021 to like March 2022 to get a job. And then for the actual course, it was October 2021 to like early January 2022.
Nice.
It's pretty fast, both
Yeah.
ways. Uh, Awesome. And then this one is, did the salary you received meet your expectations? Do you feel job security within your current career?
I think as teachers, I don't know if I can speak for Alexis, but yeah. And I'm so glad because I had received multiple offers at one point, and I did have two before that were plenty above what I was making teaching, but unfortunately they were lowball, and I would not have known that without Avocademy, without somebody to advocate for me and be like, listen, you deserve more, right? And so finally, the third offer I got was perfect, and it definitely met my expectation. Do I feel job security within this current career? Um, I think it depends company, team to team you're on, right? Um, I think that it's pretty normal to expect a switch up like every 3 to 5 years in UX UI design from what I've seen.
Mhm.
Teachers, you sort of live and die in your classroom for like 25 years, and that's not UX and UI. You just have to go wherever the flow is going to take you, but there's never a decrease in need. There's always going to be companies, they're always going to need designers. And so I feel job security within the career period, and I'm flexible enough to realize, am I going to live, die 25 years in this current company? I don't know. But for now, I take it one day at a time, and I love it right now.
Yeah, yeah, really good stuff there. Um, Especially like working a job that isn't tech based and the salaries just are not awesome. Like when I first heard about the UX design, like the average UX design salary for America, I was like, this is crazy. I've never seen this type of money in my life. So the first jobs, so the very first job I had was a contract, and they paid me way more than I was expecting to get. But the only caveat was that it was like a 2 month long contract. So
Mhm.
I was like, I don't know if I really should take this. And they were kind of iffy as to whether or not they wanted to extend me. Got on the job, didn't really like it. They weren't really treating their contractors too nicely. Then I joined another job, which was more tech focused, and they lowballed me. I felt like they lowballed me significantly, and I also just really wasn't learning too much from that company. And then this current job, the pay bump was a little bit higher, but I will say, I feel comfortable. I don't feel like there's unrealistic expectations out of me. I don't feel as if I have to overwork myself in order to prove myself to the company. And while the pay might not be what I want for myself, I know that I can always job hop within a year or two if I don't like it. And it's really like in the tech industry, and especially just for like newer generations of the workforce, like millennials and Gen Zers, it's not really uncommon for you to just job hop from a year to like 3 years. So um right now I feel very secure in this job. And given the layoffs that are going on in the tech space right now, that's a really nice win for me. And knowing that I was able to jump ship from a job before they were going to let people go is like also really nice for me. But like I will say that, I wish I could be making a little bit more, but it's not really the end of the world. I feel like the experiences I have are more valuable than making a lot of money at a tech company and them not paying you enough, or not even paying you enough, them not like teaching you and mentoring you and like helping you grow.
Yeah, I think a lot depends on like what the person also is looking for specifically. Like, I feel like money is not everything, but at the same time, you want to be compensated for everything that you're doing. So if you can find a role where it's like, okay, I'm happy, like they value my mental health, they value my work, but maybe I'm not making like $200,000 a year, then that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, I think that mental health is better than making 500K a year.
Yeah. I
That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah. And to piggyback off of that real quickly, like I feel like with tech, just like in general, like whatever number you have in mind, since you're in the tech space, you're probably going to get there eventually, like with enough experience. The hardest part is getting your foot in the door, which is why
Yeah.
Marin and I said that we applied to like 500 jobs, and I'm over here applying to like 500 in 2 weeks, because it's really a numbers game. That's what, like, it's just a numbers game. You just have to keep applying and get that first role, and you're already in a good place.
I love that. I think y'all are really gonna like this question. So it's like, what did you enjoy about your experience with Avocademy, and what was your favorite part of the course?
So my what did I enjoy about experience with Avocademy? I love CJ. I miss CJ. And so I loved working with real life clients and other team of designers, right? And going back and forth and redesigning a product or considering user research on a product. I loved that part of the whole job. It was different going from foundations, learning something, versus applying it in a safe, controlled environment, right? And so Avocademy and CJ, it made sure that its clients would respond to you in a respectful way, right? And you had like senior mentors with you and design team leads with you to like make sure that it was a really fruitful project and process, right? Like before in freelancing, if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to make my website?" It can be a hit or miss experience. Sometimes not all clients are created equal, right? And so I would say my favorite part was working with real clients in a respectful, safe environment. There we go.
Love that.
I would say what I enjoyed about my experience is also the Career Jumpstart and interacting with other teammates and alumni from Avocademy and working with them. And, outside of just like working on a client project, you really develop some really nice friendships. And,
Yeah.
I remember one time after we had our meeting, like two of the teammates I was working with, we just talked for hours about random stuff. It was just really nice. Yeah. I think another thing I liked, and I don't even know if Avocademy really dived like super deep. I would say they do. But like the case study and just putting everything together and just like just showing like, here's what I did, guys. Here's everything I did to this product. I love that part of it as well. So yeah.
And it saved my butt in the interview process. Like at first I was like, this is so hard making a portfolio, making a case study. But when I started going through portfolios during interviews, right? And you have a senior designer or recruiter looking at it, man, all of a sudden I loved all of my case studies. I loved my portfolio, and it spoke up for me when I couldn't speak up for myself.
Exactly.
So, like, she was like a superhero in disguise. In every single interview, I had my portfolio next to me and she could speak up.
Yes, I agree. Like, especially when they start asking you those really difficult, like star questions, situation task. Yeah, your portfolio will help you every single time. You could be like, oh, well, in this project, we had a difficult situation right here.
Yes.
This is what we did.
It's like having like that notes exam, right? The open notebook test. And all of a sudden, you realize that everything you wrote on the notes actually applies to the test. It's different when you're like writing it at home and you're like, why am I even doing this? This test is so hard. And I don't know if this dumb note is going to work. And then all of a sudden, your notes are like golden. Like, you know the answers to everything. Like, anyway, yeah. So I don't know if it was my favorite during making it. That was hard. But was it my favorite through the interview process to look back at and be like, I'm actually like, I did this. I know what I'm talking about. Absolutely. Yes.
I love that. Okay, so I have like, sorry, I can't see far away, so I have to get super close to the camera. So I have this question which I'll answer super fast. It says, did Avocademy help build, or does it help build portfolio to present when getting a job? Present when getting a job, any advice for the types of projects that should be included on your portfolio? So we help you build a portfolio with both Foundations and Career Jumpstart. In Foundations, you work on one case study or one project. Career Jumpstart, you can work on up to three, I believe, three, five. So you can end up with like three to four projects in your portfolio. Um, and then for any advice on the types of projects that should be included on your portfolio, real client projects. The more real client projects that you have, the better. This could be via like Career Jumpstart if you want to join Career Jumpstart, or it can be via like you reaching out to small companies like startups and nonprofits, or doing internships or hackathons or little things like that that provide like real experience is really going to help you out. Um, I really recommend Career Jumpstart just because you work in on a team. You work on a team, you have designers, you have project managers, and sometimes you even get a chance to work with developers. So it's important for you to start building that relationship before you start applying for jobs because it'll help you a ton. Now I'll go on to the next question. And if that helped answer your question, let me know. If it didn't, I'll let both of them answer the question if y'all want to answer. Then the next one that I have, I'm trying to go through them fast. So let me see. Okay, this one is for both of you. So, what is a defining moment when you finally decided, like, yes, I'm gonna go for it? They're still on the fence because there's certain aspects of the industry, like creativity, or the low pay and work-life balance that they're still kind of unsure of.
I'm not proud of my answer, but I'm going to say having a baby, having my son. And so it was fine putting my husband on the line because, like, before him, I could go to work. I could go to a football game. You know, I could come home at 10:30 p.m., had only seen him for 30 minutes a day, and I was fine with that. I was like, I love you. You love me. We're fine. Cuddle, sleep. Done. And all of a sudden, I'm pregnant, and I started thinking that that's not enough. 30 minutes a day is not enough. Like an hour a day is not enough. And then anytime I would be with my husband, a school would like come back in my brain, right? And I could never turn it off. And my school would never let me turn it off, right? They would like text me after hours and be like, "What do you think about this for the auditorium? What do you think about this for the art show?" Blah, blah. And they were things that could wait until the next school day, but they wouldn't wait. They would want my feedback right then. And so I realized it wasn't good enough to only have like 30 minutes a day, but not even mentally, like physically 30 minutes a day with my family. That's not good enough to me. And so I'm not proud of it because I did not really think high of my time, of me and my husband's time before. But the minute a baby came into the mix and Vinny came into the mix, and there's this lovable 1 year old you love a lot, suddenly that made me change priorities. And I said, I have to get out, you know. And of course, teaching is not a cakewalk. And so it's very demanding physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I knew I was going to leave, but I was very slow about it. I was like, I'll leave in like 10 years, you know, like I'll leave when like this and this happens and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't like dire. Like I wasn't about to get kicked out of my house. My car was still working. It really took until having a baby to be like this. I need something better for my life and something better for my bank account. So here we are.
Wow.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
Congrats on your baby, though.
Thank
Yeah.
That's so cute.
you. He just turned 1.
Aw.
So cute. Is he starting to walk? Or not yet?
He thinks he can walk. He can take one step and then he falls. I was an art teacher, right? And so I love art history. So his name is Vincent, after Vincent van Gogh. And I was really banking on him getting red hair like Vincent van Gogh did. That didn't happen. He's a little blonde baby, but that's fine. We still love him.
I
That's
love that.
adorable. Yeah, so whew. The decision that made me decide, okay, I got to do this. Pandemic 2021, March of 2021, after the pandemic, after everyone is in the process of getting vaccinated, I was sitting here, I was working the CSL teacher job, I was doing freelancing on the side. None of it was letting me enjoy the quality of life that I wanted. And the sad thing about it is that it really offered no direction and no security. As an ESL teacher, especially a remote one, you do not get benefits, especially if you're working for a company overseas. They don't give you benefits. They're very demanding and they really do not care about like the person who's working. They just care if you deliver the lessons to the students. And so I kind of told myself, all right, I got to get out of this situation. You know, I kind of want to live, you know, alone for a little bit. I want to live without roommates. I just want to enjoy my life. I'm getting older. Like, it shouldn't be this hard for me to just exist and have fun and be comfortable and not have to worry about where my next paycheck is coming from. And so I think what really like sprung me thinking like, okay, I got to do this is, you know, just sitting in my bed, remembering one of my friends who's now my mentor, actually, same mentor, who told me that she was a UX designer. And then me just like looking into what it was. And then me just thinking, like, all right, let's do this. Like, this looks fun. Case studies are cool. I can write, kind of. Let's go for it. And so I think it was honestly the weight of the pandemic, the weight of just realizing that a lot of jobs that we think are secure actually aren't and are like super underpaid, and just just getting older and being like, okay, what am I gonna do with my life in the next 5 years, in the like next 10 years? Like, I want to do better for myself. And so that's
Mhm.
really what like caused me to like just go full throttle into UX design. So yeah.
Sometimes you need a little push, either from life, from a baby, or sometimes you just need to rip off the bandage and just like stop questioning yourself. I feel like it's really scary to consider switching careers in general. So you're waiting for that moment that you know, like I want to know that I'm ready. I want to know that I have to invest into education, or not invest, but like be self-taught. Like I want to know when that's gonna come to my brain. And it can be like a causative event that can like kind of spark that light bulb, but it can also be like the action that you take. And with that, I'm not necessarily saying like go sign up right now, ASAP. Like, I'm just saying like think about the field, see if it's something that catches your interest, or if you've been doing research for a while, it's time to take that leap for yourself if you know that you're gonna like it.
Right.
Again, my opinion, my 2 little cents. But yeah, so I have one last question, and with this last question, I want to kind of pick your brain on if you could give advice to anyone that is interested in diving into UX and UI design, or changing careers into UX and UI design, what would it be? And this could be for anybody.
Um, be okay with the timeline. Be realistic with yourself, right? So, like, I think both Alexis and I are one of the faster graduates to get everything done as much as possible in a fast timeline. And even with that being said, it still took for me just under a year, right? So it still took 10 months. And we were like legendary speeders through the whole entire course in CJ, and applying for 500 plus jobs in under a couple weeks, right? Like, and we did everything we could to speed through it. So be okay with the timeline. Be okay that it's a process. And what I would say is that starting, so like signing up, pressing confirm. Yes, I'd like to start with Avocademy. That was actually, ironically, one of the hardest steps for me. Like just to start, right? Just to click the button and actually get in. And the rest, it took care of itself. Avocademy was very good at breaking it up, right? And making it very manageable. By the time I got a job, I didn't know how I would have done it. I know I couldn't have done it without Avocademy. I needed somebody to break it down into small steps. And so by the time I finally got a job, yes, the timeline was long and I was okay with that. And I felt a lot more comforted be like going through that with Avocademy with CJ. And so yeah, I would say be okay with the timeline and just know that it's a process and it's okay if it takes a long time. But the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. So, and the second best time is today. And so, like, it is a process, but you have to start it in order to get any results.
Yeah, really good advice, Marin. I would say for my geez, and I think this is just like general life advice. It's okay to think things through, and it is okay to be patient with yourself and take your time. But when you know, and you'll know when you're like ready to just put in that work and grind and work hard, just go for it. Like, don't even think about it, just do it. On some
Mhm.
Shia LaBeouf, right? Like, just do it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, but I think, and especially with the pandemic, right? Like, prior to the pandemic happening and me being an ESL teacher, I was working like creative jobs, client-based jobs, and they were horrible. Like I was working as a marketing intern, that was awful. Marketing coordinator for a dentistry firm, that was terrible. So I was just so discouraged, but I was so caught up in like hustling like nonstop that I didn't have time to just give myself space to kind of think about what I was doing and if it made sense. And so like before you fully commit to going into UX design, joining the Avocademy program, even like if you've joined the Avocademy program and now you're going into Career Jumpstart, it is okay to give yourself some time to really think things through and like fully process, like, okay, this is how much work I'm going to have to put in. Because, and there's no easy way of saying this. Unfortunately, you are going to have to put in a lot of work. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. There were some big sacrifices I had to make. I had to rely heavily on my support system, both with Avocademy and outside of Avocademy. So, just make sure you're making the right decision. Give yourself time to make the right decision. And then when you know that it is something that you want to do and you want to join, be a part of UX and be a UX designer, just go for it and just, work hard.
I love that. Well, those were two amazing bits of advice. So thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. I did go ahead and drop our email info@avocademy.com for any of the questions that didn't get answered. This live will be recorded, or it is being recorded, and it'll be posted on YouTube. We'll go ahead and send out those videos tomorrow, so you can watch from the beginning. And then I'm also dropping a discount code in the comments below for $200 off if you use the code Grad Panel. And that applies to the foundations course via the pay in full or the payment plan. So again, thank you both, Marin and Alexis, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure meeting and chatting with you. I hope you have an incredible rest of your week, and hopefully we get to chat again soon.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank Bye. Thank you all and everybody that joined. Bye.